Hello, my name is Jisso and I'm reading Master Dōgen's Shōbōgenzō, and we're on Shoho-Jisso, chapter 50, I think, isn't it? Paragraph 227, and I didn't come on yesterday because I had a stinky cold and I'm kind of losing my voice, so we'll just see how far we get with this. Let's just see if we can get to the end of this chapter. My late master, the eternal Buddha, says, old veterans in all directions today have no illumination of the past and no illumination of the present. They have never possessed the truths of the Buddha Dharma. The whole universe in 10 directions and such like are showing themselves like this. How can they be known? In other orders, they seem never to have listened. After hearing this, I questioned old veterans in all directions, and in truth, few had listened. It is pitiful that they desecrate positions in which they have been installed without reason. Zen Master O-An Dōgen, on one occasion, addresses the venerable monk Toki. If you want to understand easily, just keep facing the state of arising mind and moving images through the 12 hours. When just following this movement of images, you suddenly gain insight here and now. The ungraspable is like vast space. At the same time, it is without spatial form and demarcation. Outside and inside are oneness. Intelligence and objects both disappear. Profundity and lucidity both vanish. The 3 times are in equilibrium. Those who arrive at this state are called people at ease in the truth, who are through with study and free of doing. Through with study and free of doing. These are words spoken by old man O-An in the state of using all his energy to express the truth. But it seems that he was only chasing shadows and never knows rest. When we are not in the state of oneness of outside and inside, can there be no Buddha Dharma? What is this outside and inside? Furthermore, that space has form and demarcation is an expression of Buddhist patriarchs. But what does he see as space? It may be supposed that O-An has never known space, has never seen space, has never grasped space, and has never struck space. He speaks of arising mind and moving images, but there is a truth that mind never moves. How could there be a rising mind through the 12 hours? Mind cannot come into the reality of the 12 hours, and 12 hours do not enter the reality of the mind of the concrete 12. How much less could there be a rising mind? And what are moving images? Do images move and not move? Or are they beyond movement and non-movement? What is movement like? Again, what is non-movement like? What does he call images? Do images exist in the reality of the 12 hours? Do the 12 hours exist in the image of reality? There's a lot of footnotes here, and I'm just going to press on. Is it possible for there to be a time beyond the 2 factors? He says that if we just keep facing through the 12 hours, it'll be easy to understand. But what is the matter to be understood so easily? Does easy understanding refer to the truth of the Buddha's patriarchs? If so, he should know that the Buddha's truth is beyond easy understanding and difficult understanding. That is why Nangaku and Kozai Kozai, isn't it? Sorry. Kozai. That is why Nangaku and Kozai long pursued the truth following their masters. O-An speaks of suddenly gaining insight into the ungraspable. But he has never seen the truth of the Buddhist patriarchs, even in a dream. How can one of such ability be up to wanting to understand easily? Clearly, he has not mastered the great truth of the Buddhist patriarchs. If the Buddha Dharma were like that, how could it have reached today? Even Oan is like this. If we search among the old veterans of mountain temples of the present for a person like Oan, even in consecutive kalpas, we will not meet one. Even if we searched until our eyes were growing dim, we might not find another old veteran to equal Oan. Most people of recent times affirm Oan, but it is hard for me to affirm that the Buddha Dharma reached him. I would say only that he is worth a junior's seat in the monastery and that he is of average standard. Why? Because Oan has the mental agility to be able to know a person. People today do not have the ability to know a person because they do not know themselves. Even though Oan has not arrived, he has experience of learning the truth. The old veterans of today have no experience of learning the truth. Oan hears good words. It is just that they do not enter his ears, and he does not see them with his ears. He does not see them with his ears. Further, they do not enter his eyes, and he does not hear them with his eyes. Okay. Seeing with ears and hearing with eyes suggests intuitive perception. I think we've come across that before. Although Oan used to be like this, now through his efforts he may be in the state of realization. Old veterans in the mountain temples of Great Sung China today do not glimpse the inside or the outside of Oan. Their sounds and features are completely foreign in this state. Such people cannot even recognize whether the real form expressed by Buddhist patriarchs is the truth of the Buddhist patriarchs or is not the truth of Buddhist patriarchs. For this reason, the old veterans and reliable people of the last 200 or 300 years have neither seen nor spoken of real form at all. My late master Tendo, the eternal Buddha, says one night during informal preaching in the abbot's quarters, "There are calves on Tendo Mountain tonight, and golden-faced Gautama is manifesting real form. If we wanted to buy it, how could we afford the impossible price, the cry of a cuckoo above a solitary cloud?" Footnotes to the effect of calves symbolize Buddhist practitioners in a peaceful state, and a cuckoo above receives emphasis in the original Chinese by being the last character of the last line. The poem leaves the reader thinking upward and onward. Okay. Being like this, those who are accomplished in the Buddhism of venerable patriarchs speak of real form. Those who do not know the Buddha Dharma and in whom there is no learning and practice of the Buddha's truth do not speak of real form. The above words come about as follows. It is approaching the fourth watch of a night. Fourth watch. The night was divided into 5 watches of 2 hours each, so we're talking about the wee small hours, aren't we? It is approaching the 4th watch of a night in the 3rd lunar month in the spring of the 2nd year of the Great Sung era of Hogyo. I love dates in this book. 1226. When 3 beats of the drum sound from above. The abbot's quarters were located high up the mountain, so the traditional temple layout in book 1. Okay. When 3 beats of the drum sound from above, taking the prostration cloth and putting on the kazeya, I leave the cloud hall through the front entrance and find that the sign for entry into the master's room has been hung up. First, I follow other monks to the vicinity of the Dharma hall. Via the west hall of the Dharma hall, I climb the west stairs of Jakko-do, the hall of serene light. I pass through the west wall of the Hall of Serene Light and climb the west stairs of Dai-Komyozo, the Vault of Great Brightness. The Vault of Great Brightness is the abbot's quarters. Via the southern end of the screen along the west side, I reach the incense stand and burn incense and do prostrations. I am expecting that lines will have formed here for entry into the master's room, but I do not see even one monk. Mayakodai, the elevated stage, fine and high stage, the abbot's quarters were likely divided by bamboo blinds into the elevated stage and an area for waiting and burning incense. Thank you. Mayakodai, the elevated stage, has been screened off by bamboo blinds. The Dharma sound of the abbot, the great master, is faintly audible. Then supervising monk Sokon from Saizen arrives, and he also burns incense and does prostrations. After that, peering stealthily towards the elevated stage, we see that monks are standing in a packed audience without regard to east or west. The informal preaching is now in progress, so we stealthily enter behind the other monks, and standing up, we listen. The story of the life in the mountains of Zen Master Hojo of Daibai is quoted. At the part about his wearing clothes made of lotus leaves and eating pine nuts, many of the monks shed tears. This is from Master Daibai's poem. Footnote, I shall never outwear the lotus leaves in the pond. The flowers of a few pines are more than a meal. Now my abode has been discovered by people in the world. I shall move my shack deeper into seclusion. We've come across that before as well. The story of Shakyamuni Buddha's retreat on Vulture Peak is quoted in detail. Many in the audience shed tears. The retreat on Tendozan Mountain is approach. Now it is spring, and it is neither hot nor cold. It is a lovely time to sit in Zazen. Brothers, how could we not sit in Zazen? After such informal preaching, there is the poem. On finishing the poem, the master strikes the right arm of his Zazen chair once with his right hand and says, "You may enter." To enter the room means to have an interview with the master. For the interview, he says, "A cuckoo cries and bamboos on the mountain split." The words of the interview are only like this. There is no other talk. The monks present, though many, say nothing. They are just awed. This method of entering the master's room was never practiced in other districts. Only my late master Tendo, the eternal Buddha, practiced this method. During the informal preaching, the master's chair was surrounded by screens, around which the monks stood in a crowd. All the monks remained standing while the interviews continued from whichever monk was ready to enter, and people who had completed their interview left through the doors of the abbot's quarters in the usual manner. The people who remained, still standing as before, could witness everything: the dignified behavior of stepping forward and stopping by the person entering for the interview, together with the behavior of the venerable abbot and his talk in the interview. This method has never been present in other districts, and it may be a method impossible for other old veterans to realize. During entry into the room of other masters, people wanted to enter the room before other people. In the case of this entry into the master's room, people want to enter the room after other people. We should not forget that there are such differences in people's minds and ways. From that time until the first year of the Japanese era of Kangen, in an atmosphere of brightness, all of 18 years have swiftly passed. I have no idea how many mountains and rivers there are between Tendo Mountain and this mountain here, but the scene expressed as real form in those beautiful expressions and wonderful words has remained engraved on my body, mind, bones and marrow. I imagine that the informal preaching and the entry into the master's room that took place that night have been unforgettable for most of the monks present. On that night, a crescent moon came peeping out from behind the high temple buildings, and even though the cuckoos were crying frequently, the night was silent. While Great Master Shuitsu of Gensa-in Temple is preaching informally, he hears the chirping of swallow chicks and says, "This is the profound preaching of real form, and skillful expounding of the pivot of the Dharma. He gets down from his seat. Afterwards, a monk requests instruction, saying, "I do not understand." The master says, "Go away, no one believes you." As regards the meaning of profoundly preaching real form, we might interpret Gensa's words as saying that only the swallow chicks are profoundly preaching real form, but that is not so. During the informal preaching, the chirps of swallow chicks are heard. It is not that the swallow chicks profoundly preach real form. It is not that Gensa profoundly preaches real form, and it is not a cross between the two factors. Rather, the ineffable state just in the moment is profound preaching in real form. We should take a short while to investigate this episode. Informal preaching is in progress. The chirping of swallow chicks is heard. The words profoundly preaching real form and skillfully expounding the pivot of the Dharma are spoken. There is the act of getting down from the seat. There is the act of getting down from the seat. Afterwards, there is the monk's request for instruction, "I do not understand," and there is the master's statement, "Go away, no one believes you." "I do not understand" need not always be a request for instruction on real form, but it is the very lifeblood of the Buddhist patriarchs and the bones and marrow of the right Dharma treasury. Remember, even if this monk in requesting instruction says, "I have understood it," or says, "I can expound it," in every case Gensa should still say to him, "Go away, no one believes you." The reason he says, "Go away, no one believes you," is not that the monk has understood, but requests instruction by pretending not to understand. Truly, though it may be any third son of Chang or fourth son of Li other than this monk, and though all other dharmas are also real form, at the time and place that someone cuts directly through to the lifeblood of the Buddhist patriarchs, learning in practice of real form is realized like this, i.e. in the state of not understanding. In Saigen's lineage, this state has been realized. Remember, real form is the right lifeblood that has been transmitted and received from rightful successor to rightful successor. All dharmas are the perfectly realized state of Buddhas alone together with Buddhas, and the state of Buddhas alone together with Buddhas is the loveliness of form as it is. Shōbōgenzō, Shoho-Jisso, preached to the assembly at Kippoji Temple in Eshu, Japan, on a day in the 9th lunar month in the first year of Kangen, 1243. Thanks for listening. Do take care.